Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I've got another VGC 14 battle for you all since you guys are awesome and got 500 likes in the last video, so let's aim for another 500 on this one to support daily uploads. Anyway, today's battle is against Jonas, also known as LitPowerMedia. It's a friendly best 2 of 3 we had a while back. He's a really nice guy and he was getting into VGC. You can check out his YouTube channel in the description below, definitely subscribe to him if you aren't already, and he actually recorded his perspective of the best 2 of 3, so definitely check it out once you're done watching this one. Anyway, this was back when I was using the Kangaskhan Klefki combo, and you'll see Scizor, and Hydreigon are my other 2 Pokemon. Jonas is 4, our Scrafty, Meowstic, Kangaskhan, and Tyranitar. So going into the battle, I knew right away that Scizor would probably be a very important Pokemon, but let's get right into it. Now, looking back, I actually made a bunch of misplays at multiple points that made the game, basically I made it harder for myself to do well in the battle, but it was a really close game and you'll see how it turns out. So he's going to lead with Scrafty and Meowstic, and I'm going to go with my Klefki and Kangaskhan. Of course, Klefki and Kangaskhan always a relatively safe lead because they're both pretty bulky, but not really too happy here because Kangaskhan does get the -1 drop from Scrafty's Intimidate right away. So I'm going to Mega Evolve here, and I know I do have the faster Fake Out than Scrafty, and I do want to set up Safeguard with my Klefki so he doesn't Thunder Wave or Swagger me with the Meowstic. So I go for the Fake Out onto Scrafty, but Scrafty surprisingly detects. So I was kind of surprised by that, as my Fake Out just goes into the Detect, especially when the Meowstic actually goes for a Fake Out. You don't normally see like a Fake Out Protect kind of duo, but in this case it actually works because his Scrafty escapes the turn with no damage, and yeah, he basically burns my Fake Out. So it actually worked out in favor of Jonas, so nice play there. Meowstic here goes for a Reflect, which I'm happy to see because it means he can't Thunder Wave me, as I will be able to get my Safeguard up. Getting Safeguard up is really good too because it ensures that I can Swagger myself in the future to get myself to an instant +2. And I do go for the Power Up Punch onto Scrafty, and I'm pretty lucky and get a critical hit on the first hit. So not only am I going to bring myself to +1 after this, I'm also going to do a decent amount to that Scrafty actually. But you'll see here the crit's pretty much not going to matter, as he is going to get a Drain Punch off onto Kangaskhan, and that does a whole heck load. Brings me down all the way to 49 HP, so it does around 75%, and he's going to heal almost all the way back. So this turn, I kind of expect the Scrafty to protect, but even if it doesn't, I want to KO the Meowstic, and I know that Meowstic's either going to get KO'd or it's going to switch out. So I know I'm basically guaranteed to KO this turn as I Swagger my own Kangaskhan. This is really good, works out totally in my favor. He switches into his own Kangaskhan, which is always good. You always want to knock out your opponent's Kangaskhan when running it, of course. Kangaskhan, of course, such a dominant Pokemon in VGC 2014. I have been trying to use more new Mega Pokemon on my channel to feature stuff, but I really like the Kangaskhan Klefki duo. I definitely recommend you try it out. So we basically trade knockouts here as we both knock out each other's Kangaskhan's. So now both of them are gone from the field. Of course, I do have the Safeguard up, but he's got Reflect, which is definitely helpful for him. So now the game's tied at 3-3. So I'm going to bring in my no Bug Bite Scizor. Unfortunately, you can't use Bug Bite with VGC rules because VGC Pokemon, of course, have to be bred in Kalos. Now, this is a really big misplay I make. He switches out Scrafty, and I expect the Fake Out coming from Meowstic. So I protect with my Scizor. That's definitely not the right play. As he brings in his Tyranitar, I know I'm in some trouble because I definitely anticipate that Tyranitar to carry a Fire-type attack. So I protect here, but what I should have done instead was just Swagger myself and Swords Dance instead, because even if he Fakes Out, I would get my Swagger free +2 boost. If he doesn't, then I just get a free Swords Dance up. So that play made it a lot harder for me to win, and I think it was really instrumental in changing the dynamic of this battle. It was a really big misplay, and I was really frustrated right after I made that play because I could have come out with the free +2 Scizor. Instead, I protect and basically waste the free turn of setup. I do get the Tyranitar paralyzed though, which is nice in making sure its chances of attacking are decreased, of course. He's going to switch out Meowstic to Scrafty, another good play as he gets the Intimidate off onto both of my Pokemon. I'm going to switch out Scizor here to scout for the Fire-type attack. Now, one thing about my Klefki is I actually carry Foul Play, which I changed right after this set because I realized that having a Fairy-type attack would probably be a lot more useful. I actually replaced it for Dazzling Gleam, which can actually have substantial damage output against Pokemon that are weak to Fairy-type, so you'd imagine it would be really good in this position. Tyranitar does reveal the Flamethrower, as I'm not surprised, so I'm happy to see that. But Klefki, you know, it's a great Pokemon in terms of paralyzing things, but beyond that, it can't do very much. However, I don't want to switch it out at this point because I don't want my Scizor to just faint from a Fire-type attack. I do go for the Swagger since there's no better move at this rate. It actually misses the Tyranitar, unfortunately, and I do go for the Draco Meteor onto the Scrafty. Of course, now both of his Pokemon are paralyzed, so the chance of at least one of them getting paralyzed is relatively high. Draco, unfortunately, since I am running Life Orb, just barely misses out on the KO, as his Tyranitar is not fully paralyzed this turn, gets a Flamethrower off onto Klefki, does around 102 damage, as the Scrafty actually Drain Punches my Klefki instead of my Hydreigon, expecting to protect from that Hydreigon probably, and fortunately enough, that means Hydreigon will last a bit longer, and Scrafty won't heal back too much. Of course, Scrafty and Hydreigon both taking some Sandstorm damage at this point, but once again, I'm still really frustrated because I was not able to get the boost with Scizor, with the Swagger, and I continue to misplay a bit because I could actually just switch my Hydreigon out to Scrafty at this point and get the boost instantly by swaggering myself, because I do have the Lumberry on Scizor, excuse me. But looking back, I'm really not sure why I didn't do that. Instead, I opted to swagger as Tyranitar. So basically, instead of getting a 100% guaranteed win, I make it more difficult by myself by relying on swagger and confusion. So frustrating looking back at the battle, because I definitely misplayed really in 3 turns. This turn, the previous turn, and the turn when I just didn't swagger myself. So I think the play at that point wasn't evident to me, but I really should have gone for that, because like I said, now I'm just relying on full paralysis and confusion, and so far it hasn't worked out in my favor, as he's been able to attack through every single one of them. So he's going to switch the Scrafty out into Meowstic and get an Ice Beam to knock out my Hydreigon, and now I know I'm in some trouble. Scizor's my key to winning this game, but he's got this Meowstic in safely, which means he can fake out, which is really bad for me, and now I'm really concerned, because he can just take me out with the Flamethrower. So like I said, I know he hasn't been fully paralyzed or confused yet, so hoping for basically a Parafusion at this point. There's no other way I can win, because Tyranitar could just safely Flamethrower me. Of course, when you're paralyzed and confused though, your chances of attacking are only 37.5%, so pretty low. Now here I don't protect with Scizor, because I don't want to protect with Scizor and just get flamethrowered by the Klefki. So I do swagger my own Scizor to get the boost, basically meaning that if Tyranitar doesn't KO my Scizor this turn, I will be able to win the game. Now I'm not sure whether his Tyranitar targeted the Scizor or not, because I was anticipating him flamethrowing my Meowstic. He does snap out of confusion, but he does get fully paralyzed this turn. I'm now not sure who he targeted there, but it's not going to matter, as finally getting a confusion slash full paralysis, as the entire course of the game, that was basically the first one. So luck finally panning in my way. If he flamethrowed the Klefki there, I basically would have won regardless, but since he didn't, since he was fully paralyzed, excuse me, basically not going to stick long enough to find out, as that's going to get my Scizor to +2, and now this game is essentially over. He's going to bring in Scrafty though to bring me down to -1, which is another good play, but his Meowstic apparently does not carry Thunder Wave, or Swagger, so I should be fine. He does set up another Reflect though, which is good, especially as he gets another Intimidate off, but as I set up my Safeguard, it means I can Swagger my Scizor again in the next turn, as I do go for the X-Scizor into the newly switched Scrafty. Gonna take that out, and I know Meowstic basically can't do anything against me, so once I KO this Tyranitar, it's basically a good game. So correctly assessed that Scizor was the correct Pokemon to bring in the beginning of the game, but heavily misplayed at 3 different points when I should have just switched it in and swaggered myself, but instead, play wasn't evident to me, and as a result, I really had to rely on the full paralysis slash confusion. Of course, once again, I'm not sure whether he actually targeted my Scizor that turn, because, you know, I actually probably would have faked out the Scizor and Flamethrower the Meowstic, the Klefki in that position. Here, at this point, the battle's over. He does, I think, misclick and go for a fake out with the Meowstic, though Meowstic can't actually do anything else at this point, so, yeah, there's really nothing he can do. As I do swagger my Scizor, it hits, and I do get the X-Scizor off onto Tyranitar. He's not Focus Sashed, as I do take it out, so that's basically going to seal up the game. Really close game though. Like I said in the beginning of the game, I really made it a lot more difficult for myself to win because I misplayed at 3 different points with the Klefki Scizor combo. But you know, sometimes you just gotta rely on full paralysis slash swagger to bail you out. Of course, as you guys probably all know, that's how I lost at the World Championships last year. You gotta sometimes roll the dice. Of course, you know, I keep on saying I didn't even have to rely on the dice if I just played a bit better, but fortunately enough, the turn where it did matter, I did get some luck, and I am able to basically sweep the entire team with Scizor, as Scizor picks up 3 KOs in this game. So, really fun game against Jonas. Of course, this is a best of 3, so I'm going to be uploading game 2 soon. So I take a game 1 lead in this best 2 of 3 series. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I definitely had a lot of fun that battle, and it really came down to the wire to that one turn with Tyranitar. Leave a like if you enjoyed the battle, rate, comment, subscribe, of course, if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Alright, peace.